Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be about my enlistment process in the Air Force. I am now in the DEP, which is DEP or Delayed Entry Program, and I swore in yesterday. So my enlistment process was only about 5 weeks. It was actually really fast, so I'm grateful for that. I was going to make an entire video all about my enlistment process, but since it was so short and easy, which again I'm super grateful for because anyone who has tried to enlist in the Air Force or pretty much any branch of service, you know that there's a lot that can go wrong, a lot that can take a lot of time. So I'm just gonna briefly talk about my enlistment process, and then this is mainly going to be about my MEPS experience. I just got back yesterday, so everything is still fresh in my mind, and I really want to share it with you guys just because I know before I went to MEPS, I watched every single MEPS video that I could find. I know a lot of people are not sure what to expect when they go to MEPS, and you just want to be as prepared as you can, mentally. So I've wanted to join the Air Force since I was 18 years old. I did go see a recruiter with my dad. I took the ASVAB. I was in the process straight after high school, but I ended up taking a different route. So yeah, I'm 26 now. I just feel like it was the perfect time to go for what I want and do what I want to do for myself. So here I am. So when I went to airforce.com and put in my zip code, it showed me my closest Air Force recruiter. And just so you guys know, this is what my recruiter told me at least, and I kind of already knew this, but if you are still in high school, I think you have to go to the recruiter assigned to you, closest to you. But if you're not in high school, if you've already graduated, then you can actually pick your recruiter. You can drive as far as you want. So in my situation, I did go to the recruiter closest to me. Long story short, you can tell when a recruiter's overworked or just not very motivated to get people in. So that was the vibe I got from that whole experience. They were actually pretty straightforward about not helping me, so yeah. I reached out to a recruiter that was an hour and a half away from me, and I kind of got the same vibe. She was a little bit better, but I was like, I'm gonna keep looking because I'm trying to enlist right now. So the next recruiter that I reached out to, she actually is 2 hours away from me, but she's amazing. I'm so happy I found this recruiter. She made the process so quick and so easy, and I know there's not a lot of people that can say that. So I'm very grateful I found this recruiter, and my entire enlistment process took about 3 weeks from the time I met this third recruiter. So all in all, I think it took me about 2 weeks to find a great recruiter, and then 3 more weeks and I was already sworn in. I will let you guys know though, that is usually not the case. I have a totally clean medical history. I've never broken a bone, never had a major surgery, none of that. So, I mean, I don't have asthma or anything crazy. My medical history is literally nothing. So that made it a whole lot easier. I didn't have to get any paperwork from doctors or hospitals or waivers or none of that could take months and months. So no medical history, no criminal history. I literally had 1 ticket, but they don't care about that. I have no dependents. I've already graduated high school and college. I have my degree. I live on my own. There was just nothing complicated about my process, so thank God. So because my recruiter lives so far, every time I met with her, we tried to make the most of each visit. So I actually only saw my recruiter 3 times before I went to MEPS. The first time I brought all my documents and we got started right away. The second time I went back just to finish filling out all my paperwork for MEPS. Yeah, so the third time I went, it was because I was leaving for MEPS. It's important to have a good recruiter because you want them to be honest, you want them to be motivated about helping you, this is your future, this is your career, this is your life. So just make sure that you are comfortable with the person you're working with. Alright, so today's Tuesday, August 7th. I swore in yesterday, Monday, August 6th. Alright, so I had the full MEPS experience. I mean, before I went to MEPS, I had not even taken my full ASVAB, just the practice test. I didn't do any of my physical. I mean, I went there to do everything. So I will start with Sunday. I met my recruiter at her office around 11:30. And we just, there's always more paperwork to do. So I signed some more stuff. I was kind of looking over her job book, waiting for the shuttle to go to MEPS. My MEPS is in Kansas City. That is where the closest one is to me. It's about 3 or 4 hours from where I live, but I had to drive to my recruiter and then take the shuttle there. So it was kind of half and half, broken up. She said that at MEPS, when you get qualified for your jobs and they give you a printout, they're just here, pick your jobs, and you don't know what they mean. They're not going to give you a job book and teach you about them and tell you about them. They don't have time for that. So my mom actually drove me to my recruiter's office on Sunday so that I didn't have to leave my car there and then drive myself all the way home, and they obviously wanted to be there if and when I swore in. So my mom and my brother dropped me off, and they kind of waited with me for a little bit until the shuttle was gonna get there. The shuttle was running late. My recruiter said that that was normal, so my mom and my brother left, and I just sat there and waited. And then when the shuttle got there, I was the only one on it at that point, and then we went and picked up like 3 other people. So there were 2 guys and 1 other girl, and the other girl was actually also doing Air Force, and then I believe, yeah, both the guys were doing Marine Corps. One of the guys was actually shipping out the next day, so yesterday. He was leaving for Marine Corps boot camp already, so I was like freaking out for him. The shuttle ride wasn't bad. My recruiter said that like they might be a little bit crazy driving because they're older guys who are like retired and may or may not have been in the service, and they just like to talk and like drive off the road. So I was like, oh great. But it was fine. The shuttle ride was totally normal to me. I just put my headphones in and listened to music till we got there, and we got to the hotel, and all 4 of us walked in, and we were like, now what? So then we like look, and there's this whole room filled with people that are obviously also military, just waiting for their rooms because we couldn't check in till 4. But the hotel was super nice, and we just kind of sat around and waited for another hour so that we could check into our rooms. So before we could go into our rooms and get our room keys and everything, we had to meet in the Freedoms Club. So there was just like this room in the hotel that you go in where everyone is there for the same reason. We're all going to MEPS the next day. Some people were shipping out. It was all different branches. There were a lot of people there. I would say at first there was like 40 of us, but I am pretty sure by the end of the night there was a lot more than that. Like people were coming in all night long till like 2 in the morning, which is terrible because we had to get up at 4. So we went to the Freedoms Club, and we filled out more paperwork, and we got our room key and our meal ticket for dinner. And that's when we found out who our roommate was, and it turned out, my roommate turned out to be the girl that was on the shuttle with me, who was also doing Air Force. So it was awesome because we were the only 2 people there doing Air Force at that hotel going to MEPS. I'm older. I mean, a lot of these recruits were like 17 or 18, and I'm gonna be 27 in less than a month, so I'm almost 10 years older than them, pretty much 10 years older. My roommate was 24, she's also doing Air Force. She also had her bachelor's degree. Like we had some stuff in common, so it wasn't awkward at all. She was pretty nice, and yeah, I was just grateful I didn't have a weird roommate like some people did. So after that, we were able to go check into our room, and I was so surprised by how nice the rooms were because not only do you walk into like a living room with a couch and a TV, there's like a little kitchenette thing, there's a bathroom, and then there's the bedroom in the back with 2 beds. And so I went to bed early because I had to take my full ASVAB and do the whole physical, and I knew it was going to be a 12-hour day for me, like 4 to 4. So I went to bed early, and it was nice that my roommate didn't have to like go to bed when I went to bed. She just, like, you can close the bedroom door, and she hung out in the living room till she wanted to go to sleep. Because she was only there, like she already did her ASVAB and her physical. She was just coming back to do one thing before she could swear in. So yeah, I thought the room was super nice. I liked how that was set up. So yeah, we went to the room and just kind of hung out, watched TV, talked, and just waited till we could go to dinner. They served dinner from 5 p.m. to 9:45 p.m. and the meal ticket that they gave you is all you needed. So your meal was covered, and you get like an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. And I was like, okay. I ended up getting like a salad, a burger, and cheesecake for free. I thought the food was okay, it was good. Me and my roommate had dinner with one of the other guys that was on the shuttle, and then we just like took our time with dinner because there's really nothing else for you to do. You're not allowed to leave the hotel. Curfew's at 10, which they tell you all of that in your briefing. And then, yeah, so after we ate dinner, we just went up to the room. When we originally went down for dinner, like all the tables were already full, so we had to wait for people to be done eating and then we could eat. So by the time we got done with dinner, we just went back up to our room and just hung out and watched more TV, took showers, and went to bed. You will get in trouble if you go to like the opposite gender's floor. So females have their own floor and males have their separate floor, and you are not allowed to go on each other's floors, especially not go in each other's rooms. Like, these are obvious things to me because I'm 27 years old, but like for 18-year-olds, obviously I'm sure like those thoughts cross their minds, whatever. I was like, it's 9:30, I'm going to bed, I have to be up at 4, so yeah, I was definitely in bed by 9:30. Okay, so the morning of MEPS. We did not get a wake-up call. I wasn't counting on it, but my roommate was like, yeah, last time they gave us a wake-up call and like they'll call us and make sure we're up, and I was like, I'm not counting on that. So I definitely set like 3 alarms. I was up on my first alarm. I actually slept really good because it was so dark in the hotel room. I loved it. And also my cat wasn't waking me up like every 3 or 4 hours, so that was amazing. I got really good sleep, which I needed. So I got up at 4:15. Breakfast was, I think, from 4:45 to 5:15. Breakfast was awesome. They had like biscuits and gravy, they had sausage, bacon, eggs, fruit, hash browns, like they had all kinds of stuff. It was a buffet, so you have a meal ticket. So you just go up there, put your ticket in the bucket, and then get as much as you want. And people were going back up for second plates, like it's a buffet. It's all you can eat. So after we got done eating, breakfast ended at 5:15, but the shuttles weren't coming to take us to MEPS till like 5:40, I think, because MEPS opens at 6. So we went back to the Freedoms Club, and then when the shuttles got there, I was the first one in line, so I ended up holding the door for everybody, but that was a good idea. I liked the way that worked out. So I got onto the last shuttle, and I was in the first seat. So when we pulled up to MEPS, I was the first one off the bus, and I was the first one in line to get into the building after the people who were shipping off to basic that day. So I was like, yes, I'm first in line, I'm ready to get this over with. So in my head, I'm thinking I'm going in, I'm gonna check in and start my ASVAB. That's what I was told by my recruiter. So like I said, I was the first one in the building. I'm not even like awake as I think I am apparently, because I'm the first one that goes up to the desk, and the guy that's there was like, read this, and I'm like, okay. So I start reading everything as fast as I can, and then he covers it up and he's like, what does it say? And I was like, something about fingerprinting, and he's like, what else? I'm like, that's all I remember. He's like, what act is it? Like, what does it say at the top? I'm like, I don't remember. And he's like, it's okay. And he started being really nice, and I was like, okay, good. I'm so glad that they're not mad at me right now. I just heard a lot of people say that people were rude to them at MEPS, or they're just there to disqualify you, like they're out to get you. And that was not my experience at all. I want to say that up front, because you guys will hear through my whole story how everybody was so nice to me. They messed with me, they joked with me, they laughed with me. They were super, super nice. Okay, so while I'm talking to the guy at the front desk, he's like doing my fingerprint and getting me set up for the day. I could not get my finger on there right. It was taking forever for him to capture my fingerprint, or for the machine to capture my fingerprint. I was the first person, they had just opened, and he was like frustrated with me but kind of kidding. So he's like, come on Brittany Lynn, come on Brittany Lynn. He kept saying Brittany Lynn, and I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. So I finally got my fingerprint captured, and he sent me to the next guy by the front desk, which he was in an Air Force uniform, and turns out he was one of the liaisons for the Air Force, but I didn't know that at this moment. So he tells me to go see him, and then I had to hand him like my folder, which you guys will carry your folder with you from the moment you leave your recruiter until the moment you're done at MEPS. You carry that thing with you everywhere. It has all your paperwork in it, everything you need for the whole day. You know those moments where you guys like did something super embarrassing and you still think about it till this day? Like if you're laying in bed at night, you're like, why did I do that? I had one of those moments right away as soon as we got there. So he tells me to go see the next person, which was the Air Force guy, and he kind of like stuck his hand out for my folder, but guys, it's literally 6:01 a.m. and I'm nervous. So he kind of sticks his hand out, and I freaking shake his hand. Oh my god. Why? I don't know why. I don't know why. He's like, oh, nice to meet you. Like, how are you? He was not trying to shake my hand. He wanted my folder. I'm so awkward. So I give him my folder, and then he does whatever he needs to do, and then he's like, okay, go to medical. And I was like, I thought I was here for my ASVAB first, but I'm not about to question anybody. So I head to medical. I'm the first one, and I walk in there, and the lady that's sitting at the desk is like, come on up. She was ready. Like, they were ready to get us through. You could tell they wanted to be out early that day, and we were just getting started. So she's like, come on up. And so I gave her my folder, did my fingerprint. I wanted to ask just to make sure I was in the right place. I didn't want to like do anything wrong. So I was like, I'm here to also take my full ASVAB. Am I doing that first, or do I do my physical first? She's like, no, you still have to do the medical briefing before you can do your ASVAB and physical. So I was like, okay, yes ma'am. So I kind of got pushed into the hearing test right away with two other people. There was a girl who was also Air Force, and a guy who, I don't know what branch he was joining. Oh, it was Army. He was Army. So us three were like already starting. We're the first ones taking a test. We were in the hearing test, and there were like 3 stools on one side and stools on the other side, but you turn and face the wall, and then you pull like the curtain between you guys. So like one person was here, one person was here, and I was in the middle, and then they pulled their curtains, so then I was just like in the middle little cubicle thing. And everybody has their own headphones and then their own like button. So the man administering this test had an Air Force uniform on, and he did go over how the test works, what we needed to do, and we did like this practice thing. And he was messing with me too. He was like, come on, Air Force, like, you're supposed to make me look good. He said I was too slow during the practice. He said I needed to be the fastest. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much pressure right now. Even though they're kind of kidding, like, they're not kidding. You can't fail a hearing test. You will be disqualified and sent home. I was like already really nervous. I didn't know I was going to be doing any type of physical testing in the morning. So he started the hearing test. I put the headphones on. I'm like squeezing the headphones onto my ears, making sure I don't miss a single beep. So you're going to hear a series of 3 beeps, and you want to hit the button on the first beep. So it's not every time you hear a beep. It's beep, 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 and you want to hit the beep on the first one. So it's more about like speed and how far away you can hear, because the beeps will get like fainter and fainter, so they're supposed to be like further and further away. There was a point where this man like came over the speakers, it was like a recording, and it said something like, "You are pressing the button when there are no tones, please stop." And I was like, so now I'm like freaked out to press the button at all. So I went from like pressing it every time I even thought I heard something just so I don't miss any of the beeps, and I went to not pressing it at all. Like, I was frozen. Also, I didn't really hear anything for like the next 3 minutes. I don't know if it felt like 3 minutes or if it was actually 3 minutes. You guys, you will have no idea what time it is at MEPS. You don't wear a watch. There are like no clocks anywhere. I think I saw 1 clock the whole day, and that was when I was taking my ASVAB in the testing center. So yeah, you guys will have no idea what time it is. So it felt like the longest amount of time ever, and I was just sitting there, first of all, terrified to press the button, and second of all, I really didn't hear anything anyways. I was seriously holding the headphones to my ears. So at one point it felt like it had been so long that I was like, did that guy forget that we were in here? Like, are we supposed to come out when we stop hearing it? Are these two even sitting next to me anymore? What is happening? It was so freaking quiet. So then finally I started to hear like beeps more on this side, like really far away. So I like felt comfortable pressing it again. So then, yeah, I started to hear them louder and louder again. I'm like, okay, maybe they're coming back now. But then I was like, oh my gosh, did I miss a bunch when it was quiet? You guys, I had no idea. So eventually the guy comes in, he's like, okay, you guys are done. And then he writes a bunch of numbers in your folder, and then he gives it to you, and then he sends you to the next place. So I'm like looking at mine, and it's like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. There's like a million zeros. All zeros, all zeros. And I was like, oh my god, I already failed a test. We just got here. I wasn't ready. Like, I need to do this again. So then the 2 other people that were in there with me, I was like, what'd you guys get? Like, what do your numbers say? And the girl said that she had some numbers like 15 or 25 or something like that. And then she got a bunch of zeros too. And then the other guy was like, oh, I got like 25, 40, some zeros. And I was like, I have no numbers. I literally failed. So the guy doesn't tell you if you passed or not. He just hands you your folder and sends you to the next place. And I was like, shoot. And then I was like, what if I failed the hearing test, but they're just not going to tell me? So I like finished all the other tests, and then if that's the one thing I have to come back for, then they'll let you do that. So then the next place we are sent to is like a classroom. It has all these desks in it. So it's the medical briefing room, and this man was he also Air Force? Yes, he was also Air Force. So he did not want to be called sir. He said, say yes, Staff Sergeant, not yes, sir. So I was like, yes, Staff Sergeant. Basically, there was really no reason for me to be first to get off the bus and into the building and first for the test, because then at that point, I had to wait for everybody to come into the classroom. So, oh, I missed a part. Before we went to the medical briefing classroom, they actually sent me over to do my blood pressure, and I was like, at this point I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm literally about to do the whole physical and I don't know what's happening, so I'm just gonna go along with it. So I went over to the chair where he does my blood pressure, put my sleeve all the way up, he puts the thing on, and at that point I know I was freaking myself out. So my blood pressure was too high and I knew that was gonna happen, but he gave me another chance. He told me to sit a certain way, take a deep breath, relax, calm down, like just take a minute. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. So then he did it again, it was fine. I think it was like 111 over 76. I don't even know what that means, but that's what he wrote in my folder, and then he sent me to the medical briefing classroom. Yeah, we were sitting in there, it was me and the 2 other people that had started the hearing test with me. So yeah, we had to sit there and wait for everyone else to, I think, do those 2 things and then come in there. So while we were sitting in there, everyone that was coming in, I was like, what'd you guys get on the hearing test? Like, do you guys have a bunch of zeros? What does this mean? I was asking everybody. So I was the only one with all zeros. And I was like, I'm the only one that failed. Like, obviously all these people didn't fail and I'm the only one that passed. Eventually, while we're waiting for the guy to come in and do our briefing, one of the doctors like stuck his head in the classroom, and I was like, can I ask you a question? And he's like, what? And I was like, what do all zeros mean on the hearing test? If everyone knew I failed at that point, I didn't care. I just wanted to know if I passed. So he's like, yeah, 0 means perfect. He said, so if you have anything like 40 or higher, you're gonna have to take the hearing test again. They're gonna have to look at your ears. So then I looked at the kid that was with me and I was like, oh no, because he got a 40. So it turns out I have perfect hearing. I had nothing to worry about, and I was like, okay, on to the next thing.